Hello there, welcome to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. Well, today we're continuing our monthly Director Spotlight series, our Taste of Director series with Taste of David Cronenberg films. So I'm very excited to spend a few minutes with you talking about David Cronenberg. Going to share with you just a little bit of his background, talk about some of the films in his filmography that I've had a chance to see, because in this monthly series of Taste of Director series, we just turn the spotlight on a director, on a particular filmmaker, and we'll tell you a little bit about that filmmaker, what inspired them to get into cinema, and then we'll turn the focus on to 3 or 4 films from her or his filmography to give you a taste of what that director has to offer and what they've contributed to the world of cinema. Now, as I said many times before in this series, choosing 3 to 4 films is not going to give you the full, depth and breadth of everything that filmmaker has done, especially if they've been doing it for multiple decades. But the purpose is to just talk about a few of that filmmaker's work, to give you an idea of the types of films that they've made, to just give you a little bit of a taste of what they've done that might inspire you to watch more of their films. So I'm in that category of people who I've only seen a few of David Cronenberg's films. I'm going to talk about some of them right here. Got one of them up on the screen here, The Brood, and I'll just talk a little bit about each title. Most of these are Criterion Collection titles that I have here, as well as one that I don't currently own on physical media. But I want to hear in the comments section what some of your favorite David Cronenberg films are from this amazing Canadian director. So let's talk a little bit about David Cronenberg's background, where he comes from. Who is David Cronenberg? Who is David Cronenberg? Well, he is a Canadian film director, screenwriter, and actor. He's appeared in a lot of his films as in cameos. He was born in 1943, in March of 43, in Toronto, Ontario, in Canada. And he was born into a Jewish family. And of course, in his childhood, he got a lot of inspiration from a lot of books that he read. He was into Philip K. Dick novels. That was a part of his inspiration. But then ultimately, what led him to get into filmmaking was one of his classmates named David Sector did a film called Winter Kept Us Warm in 1966. And it's that film that really inspired David Cronenberg to get into filmmaking. He would, of course, take a year off to travel to Europe. He returned to Canada in 1967, and he graduated from University College of the University of Toronto at the top of his class. So kudos to David Cronenberg for finishing at the top of his class. Of course, David Cronenberg's films are known for the whole body horror genre, so really big into that aspect of filmmaking, the horror genre, but specifically body horror. He's really known for that. His films cover bodily transformation, diseases. He looks at the psychological, the physical aspects of transforming in these movies. And he's done sci-fi films such as Shivers, which I have not seen, Scanners, Videodrome, The Fly, and he's also directed some dramas, psychological thrillers, and gangster films. So since the year 2000, he's also collaborated with Viggo Mortensen, the actor, on a number of films, including A History of Violence from 2005, Eastern Promises from 2007, A Dangerous Mind from 2011, and most recently, Crimes of the Future, which I believe came out this year, which I have not seen yet. That stars Viggo Mortensen and Léa Seydoux. So a lot of films that David Cronenberg has done. I think he's directed a few dozen films in his career to this point. I've only seen a handful of those films. So the films that I'm going to talk about in this entry of our Director Spotlight series, Taste of Cronenberg films, are 4 films. The first is a film called The Fly from 1986, starring Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. So I will talk about that. I don't own that film on physical media, and I'll talk about that in just a second. I'm also going to share with you these 3 titles from the Criterion Collection of David Cronenberg films that I've seen, with 1979 The Brood, which you'll see up here, the picture from that film. From 1983, David Cronenberg's Videodrome. This is an interesting film starring James Woods. And Scanners from 1981. So those are the 4 films that I'm going to talk about in this Taste of Director series entry. So let's go ahead and jump right into it with The Fly. Now, The Fly is from 1986, stars Jeff Goldblum and Geena Davis. This is a fantastic film. It is an example of a science fiction body horror type film from David Cronenberg. And it basically deals with the story of Jeff Goldblum's character, who's a scientist. He develops technology around teleportation, which is, of course, groundbreaking. And one day, a fly gets into one of his teleportation pods and he's in there with it. And that transmission combines the DNA of the fly with the DNA of the scientist, who is Jeff Goldblum. And the rest of the film deals with the transformation of Jeff Goldblum as a result of that teleportation accident. So, fascinating film. It is a remake of the 1958 original film, and it is a fantastic science fiction horror, body horror type film. It is a film I do not own on physical media, and the reason why is, as great as The Fly is, and I think it's a great film, it's a great horror film, it's a classic, I highly recommend it if you have not seen it, but it's also a film I never need to see again the rest of my life, because that film is so freaky in terms of the transformation of Jeff Goldblum's character. It gets pretty gruesome toward the end there. So it's a little bit much for me. It's a great film. I'm glad I've seen it. It's a classic that I highly recommend, but it's not one that I need to see ever again. There's some sequels to it that I'm not particularly high on, but the original Fly from 1986, or the original remake from 1986 starring Jeff Goldblum and Geena Davis, is highly recommended if you have not seen it yet. That's The Fly. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about The Fly. Now, the second film that I'll cover is from 1979, and it is the earliest of David Cronenberg's films that I'll cover here. And it's pictured up here on this screen here, the menu from the Criterion Collection edition of The Brood. This is a fascinating film starring Oliver Reed from 1979. And it is another example of his body horror. It's another body horror extravaganza from this great director. Let me read the back of the Criterion case. A disturbed woman is receiving a radical form of psychotherapy at a remote, mysterious institute. Meanwhile, her 5-year-old daughter, under the care of her estranged husband, is being terrorized by a group of demonic beings. How these two storylines connect is the shocking and grotesque secret of this bloody tale of monstrous parenthood from David Cronenberg, starring Oliver Reed and Samantha Eggar. With this combination of psychological and body horror, The Brood laid the groundwork for many of the director's films to come, but it stands on its own as a personal, singularly scary vision. So, when I open up the case, on the inside, of course, the disc is in the player here, but let me show you this poster real quick. This creepy looking poster of this film from David Cronenberg. Check that out. Isn't that creepy? Makes you wonder what is going on in this movie. Well, watch it and check it out. Then you have an essay in here called Separation Trials from Carrie Rickey. Very interesting. But yeah, I mean, this is a crazy, crazy body horror film. There's a particular scene with Oliver Reed toward the end that's great example of body horror from David Cronenberg. So The Brood is pictured up here. Then the next film I'll cover here, the third film, is a film that probably is my favorite. If you ask me, what is your favorite David Cronenberg film of the films that you've seen, it would definitely be this one right here, Videodrome from 1983, starring James Woods. So let me read the back of this one here as well. This is a fantastic film. Again, it's another example of body horror, deals with the technological, a little bit of supernatural, and it deals with some, themes of adult films and just different things that this employee of a cable TV news station is involved in. So this is Videodrome. When Max Wren goes looking for edgy news shows for his sleazy cable TV station, he stumbles across the pirate broadcast of a hyper-violent torture show called Videodrome. His attempts to unearth the program's origins send him on a hallucinatory journey into a shadow world of right-wing conspiracies, sadomasochistic sex games, and bodily transformation, that body horror. Starring James Woods and Deborah Harry, Videodrome is one of the most original and provocative works from writer-director David Cronenberg and features groundbreaking makeup effects by Academy Award winner Rick Baker. So Rick Baker did the work on Videodrome. A lot of special effects in here, including that wonderful scene of his head going into the TV. Really, really good stuff. Just great work. The special features do a nice job on this particular edition of telling you more about the film and the special effects work that went into it. And you see James Woods talking about his experiences with the film. You hear from David Cronenberg as well. But this edition is really special because when you look at this Criterion Collection Edition, it looks like a video cassette. So you have on here one of the famous quotes from the scene from the movie, "Long live the new flesh," just part of that whole body transformation. On the inside, you have this here Videodrome, this whole Videodrome thing here. Very interesting. Sorry, I had to check a quick text message there. My son had a good basketball practice this morning, so glad to hear that. But you see this nice stapled booklet, Videodrome, which is really cool. And on the inside, you have, some nice pictures here and a nice essay on the inside, but just a nice looking, VHS aesthetic to this whole case, which I think is super cool and a great addition from the Criterion Collection. Now, pretty soon on this channel, I'm going to show an unboxing of the new 4K edition of Videodrome from Arrow Video that's coming out soon. It should be arriving on my doorstep as of the time I'm recording this video any day now. So I'm expecting it probably this weekend coming up, the weekend of October the 29th, probably either Saturday the 29th or Saturday the 30th perhaps, but it could be early into the week. But whenever I get that 4K limited edition of Videodrome from Arrow, I will definitely do an unboxing on this channel so you can see that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it looks on 4K. It looks great on this Blu-ray from Criterion, but this is an older Blu-ray. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what a nice new 4K restoration will look like on a 4K disc of my favorite of Cronenberg's films, Videodrome. So the last film I'll talk about here is another film from Cronenberg from 1981. It's probably on the lower end of my favorites from this director. I like all of the films I've seen from him, and I like this film as well, but it's not one of my upper level favorites from David Cronenberg, but it is Scanners from 1981. It is another film from this director. It has body horror elements to it, but it also deals with elements of science fiction with telepathic powers. And this is a really nice edition. This is actually a dual format edition that I have here that I'm displaying here. Currently, those have been discontinued, and you'll now see the standard Blu-ray edition in Barnes & Noble or available online. But let me read the back of this case here. It says, with Scanners, David Cronenberg plunges us into one of his most terrifying and thrilling sci-fi worlds after a man with extraordinary and frighteningly destructive telepathic abilities is nabbed by agents from a mysterious rogue corporation. He discovers he is far from the only possessor of such strange powers, and that some of the other scanners had their minds set on world domination. So these are people who have the power to scan. They have telepathic powers. And a trademark Cronenberg combination of the visceral and the cerebral, this phenomenally gruesome and provocative film about the expanses and limits of the human mind was the Canadian director's breakout hit in the United States. So this is an interesting film. Of course, many of you may know about the famous head exploding scene based on that power of telepathy. That happens near the beginning of the movie. And then from there is sort of a slow burn until you get that nice climactic finish at the end, which I found very satisfying. The battle of the telepaths at the end. But it's a bit of a slow burn between the head explosion and the ultimate climax. And that's the part that I think makes it a little bit of a tough watch for some people. And part of the reason why it's not among my favorites of David Cronenberg's films. but overall it's a pretty good film, and I definitely recommend seeing it if you have not seen it yet. And this is a very nice addition from the Criterion Collection. Now, I'll go ahead and open this up. It's a little bit different edition now because this is the dual format edition, and it's super cool. So you see both sides of the digipack here. Nice little stapled mini booklet here, 4 scanners, super cool. And of course, in this dual format edition, you got a couple of DVDs and the Blu-ray. But of course, the dual format has been discontinued, and they now only offer it on Blu-ray, and I'm not sure if it's offered on DVD anymore. But this is Scanners from David Cronenberg. This was a new restored 2K digital transfer. And so very nice film overall from David Cronenberg that I would recommend seeing if you want to explore more of David Cronenberg's filmography, Scanners from 1981. So there you have it. Those are the films that I wanted to talk about in today's Taste of Director Series entry for Taste of David Cronenberg films. But let me know in the comments section below, what are some of your favorite films from this director? What are some of your favorite films from David Cronenberg? I've only seen a few of his films, but I know there's a lot of his films out there that many of you have seen that would be interesting for myself and others to get into. So let us know some of your favorites in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. Peace.